स्टूडेंट्स म्यूटेड रहें और आप सुने मैडम को।
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Tanveer, for giving a brief introduction regarding me. In fact, it's my privilege and proud moment that I have been invited by your institution to share my few thoughts, and also regarding you have requested me to share my experiences in my field. Inshallah, I'll try to share all the experiences which I had during my entire service. Thank you for the organizers of this webinar for giving me an opportunity, and my humble thanks to the principal of your college also. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, shall I start my presentation? I'll start my presentation.
Okay, welcome.
So the topic which I have been given is communicative English and its role in healthcare. Communication, actually we have to understand what is communication. Communication is to give a message to the person, to other person. So giving a message through many ways, it's not an ordinary work, it's an art and a science. So basically when you communicate it with other persons, it's an act of speaking and listening to what they say, reading and writing, but it also goes beyond these and incorporate transmission of non-verbal language. So although you communicate simply by being in the world, developing good verbal and body language skills involves learning and consciously using your skills to improve. See, this is basically communication is an art which, and it is a skill which you cannot develop overnight. You'll have to practice this. The way you are going to speak, the way you are going to present your words, the how you are going to communicate with the opposite persons, it's an art. So basically, have you heard about Shashi Tharoor, Kerala Chief Minister, speaking English? Wow, it's something tremendous what he speaks. And if we have to understand all his words, we'll have to keep a dictionary beside us. That is a type of very hi-fi type of communication which he has. And this is an art which has to be developed gradually. So my dear students of first year BUMS, hearty welcome to this Unani faculty. First of all, I would say that speaking English and giving a very good presentation is the basic need of today, because English is a universal communication language where this language is understood by each and everyone throughout the world. So what I found after while I was working in National Institute of Unani Medicine is that people who come from different states of India to study there, they actually in fact they have got very good knowledge. Knowledge is different from skill. They have got very good knowledge, but the fluency they lag behind. The main lacuna behind this is, see, I'll tell you, in North India, most of the people speak Hindi. Hindi is their language of communication. They understand. Even a patient understands, a teacher understands, a student understands English, and all the public they communicate, they use only Hindi language. So here, even though you have got very good English knowledge, you lack in fluency. So apart from this, it's quite vice versa here in South India. So in South India, people speak in different states speak different language. Like in Karnataka, it's Kannada, Tamil Nadu, Tamil, Andhra Pradesh, Telugu, and Kerala, Malayalam. So all these people, when they and as Bangalore is one of the metropolitan city, um, there should be a common language to communicate. So here what has happened, English has developed as a common language. All people from here, they try to speak English, and it is only because of practice of speaking has led to some very good fluent English speakers here in South. So my dear students, what I say is, when you are in the college, please try to speak with each other in English. You practice it for a few months and you will see that you are on the top speaking very good English. So let us understand what are other factors which are important in this communication. This act of communicating verbally serves to convey how we feel and how we think to others. So, because with the communication, we will try to understand what are our feelings and what others feel about us. It is also the basis of how we relate with the others, using language as its medium. Increasing knowledge and awareness of some of the components involved in effective communication can serve to improve how we use those components personally. So, the knowledge which you have and the awareness of some of the important components is really involved in effective communication. To explain all the features required of good communicators, you need to delve into the nature of verbal communication in various modes. So, to have a very good impact, how you are going to speak, it involves many different various modes of verbal communication. So, communicative English is a term discussed about nowadays. So, what is communicative English? It is to communicate means to interchange thoughts, feelings, information, or the like by writing, speaking, learning, listening, etc. The phrase communicative English refers to that English which helps us to communicate effectively with people using language functions. It is based on real language as used day to day. Curious about how language functions, rich in useful vocabulary, expressive, active, and fun. So these are the basic components. Real language, how you speak day to day your English language. You are curious about how language functions. This should it depends upon how rich useful vocabulary. Shashi Tharoor is very famous for using very high words. His vocabulary is very high. Similarly, luckily we have one teacher in National Institute who is also following his steps. Professor Dr. Abdul Nasir Ansari, HOD of Najmut Tadbir. He also has very good, wonderful vocabulary he uses during his presentations. And your communication should be expressive, active, and fun. In the previous years, communication class classified into 4 types, but there are actually 5 types of communication. Like first is the verbal communication, second is non-verbal communication without saying words. That is your body language, your facial expressions, your emotions, which are expressed on your face. All these come under non-verbal communication. Then written, then listening to what others say is also a type of communication. And finally, one of the most nowadays the most popular type of communication is visual. Visual is through your WhatsApp, your Facebooks, all medias through which you can visualize all the communication. Now let us understand one by one the different types of communication. What is verbal communication? It is the most common type of communication. It involves the use of spoken words or sign language to share information. It can either happen face to face or through other channels such as mobile phone, radio, and video conferencing. Like what we are doing now is a video conferencing. It is a type of verbal communication. It comes under visual type of communication. So non-verbal communication, it involves passive communication through the use of gestures, tone of voice, body language, and facial expression to share thoughts and feelings. I think almost all of you must have experienced this non-verbal communication, like your gesture, how you are going to show your gestures, like when you are angry, when you are happy, when you are emotional, when you are sad. All those facial gestures is a type of non-verbal communication. The tone of your voice, this is very important. Like the way you speak, the tone, very high pitched tone. People are there who are really irritating. So we should when you speak, it should be of very pleasant voice, very medium tone. It should not be very feeble also, so that others should not be able to hear it. It should be moderate, like neither too high pitched nor low pitched. And your body language is also very important in non-verbal communication. The way you stand, it shows how confident you are, how well you can give your presentations. It should be very decent and it should be acceptable to the audience when you speak. The body language is very important. And facial expression to share thoughts and feelings. You can communicate non-verbally by the way you dress. Yes, even dressing also is a very good method of non-verbal communication. You have to dress decently and within the allowed limits. Non-verbal communication, it gives a very, see, your dressing will give a very good message. The how decent you dress shows how decent you are, and otherwise it's vice versa. Non-verbal communication often supports verbal communication. Like when you are speaking, this non-verbal communication is also involved. Like the tone of your voice, your posture, your body language, your facial expressions, your mood, emotions, all this together with the verbal communication give a very impressive communication. So, what is written communication? Coming to the second part after verbal, it includes communicating through writing, typing, or printing. It is done through channels such as letters, text messages, emails, social media, and books. And visual communication is it uses graph, charts, photographs, maps, and logos to share information. It is mostly used in communication with verbal or written communication in order to simplify the information. See, these three can go together in a combination. Your verbal communication, along with written communication and visual communication, this will help. All these three types will help you when you give some presentations in your seminars. Using slides and flowcharts during a presentation makes it easier for audience to grasp the complex data. Listening. The act of listening also is an art because most people should have patience to listen what the other person says. This does not often make its way into the list of types of communication, but active listening, however, it is perhaps one of the most important types of communication because if we cannot listen to the person sitting across from us, we cannot effectively engage with them, which makes it difficult to achieve an outcome. See, when you listen, suppose so a person is giving some talk or something like that, your mind is preoccupied. You may be staring his face, but definitely by your bad body language shows that you are not listening to what he says, because you have to get engaged with the talk. You have to have an eye to eye contact with the opposite person who is speaking. Only then it is called as an active listening. How to communicate? How to make communication effective? Misunderstanding can occur in any type of communication. Yes, an effective communicator seeks to minimize the chance of misunderstanding, and the message is an impactful manner. See, when you speak, sometimes you may use an inappropriate word, which will lead to misunderstanding. So always you have to minimize the chance of misunderstanding by using appropriate words and messages. Here are some actionable tips to help you communicate effectively. Minimize the potential of misunderstanding by using appropriate words. Understand your audience. Seek feedback from the recipient. Choose the right channel of communication. Tips for verbal communication. See, when you tomorrow you may become doctors, isn't it? Very shortly, in a gap of 5-6 years, you'll be very good doctors. I hope so. So for that, if you have to be successful in the field, there are many factors. Not only your subject knowledge, but along with that, the way you present yourself is also very important, because nowadays you must see that when jobs, when there is an opportunity for jobs, even body language, the way you speak, your confidence adds to the marks. So speak confidently in a strong voice. Be loud and clear when you are speaking to a group of people so that everyone can hear you properly. Support your oral communication with positive body language. Listen patiently. Active listening is the key to good verbal communication. Whether you are having a one-to-one conversation or conducting a team meeting, Always make it a point to listen to others. You will also get an idea of what your audience wants and what they think. Be clear and concise. Choose your words according to the level of your audience. Yes, because again, I'm going to quote Shashi Tharoor's example. We are not his audience because we cannot understand the words he uses. Only UK people can understand what he speaks, I suppose. Tips for non-verbal communication. Feel your emotions. Try to observe how different emotions have a physical impact on your body. Example, you may find that whenever you feel confused, you begin picking at your fingernails without knowing it. Yes, I have seen this mostly when the students during their Viva, they have this type of practice. If they are not able to answer, they start biting their nails. So better you have to feel your emotions, like whether if you are nervous or whether you are confident. It makes a very great impact on non-verbal communication. See, I have seen some students who are quite bold enough, even if they are not confident with their answers, the way they speak with very confident voice and body language will give an impact to the examiner. So always, whenever you speak with confidence and with very good body language. If you show your emotions through nervousness or biting the nails or scratching your head, it will give a very wrong message. Be conscious of your body language. Make deliberate efforts to correct negative postures and expression each time you are aware of them. Learn others' body language. If you come across certain gestures and expressions that are working well for someone else, try to mimic them for yourself. See, if you see somebody speaking with very confidence, very good expressions, you can learn from them also. You can make them as a role model. A good speaker, a good motivator can give an example on how to present yourself. Now, written communication tips. When you go to written communication tips, keep it short and simple. This practice will avoid confusion and save time. Beware of potential misinterpretation. In verbal and non-verbal communication, you have several other elements such as your tone, expression, body language to help the recipient understand what you are trying to convey. However, in written communication, your recipient doesn't have the access to your tone or your body language, so they may interpret emotions in different way. So you have to use appropriate words while you are writing. And proofreading is very important. Make sure you proofread your letters, your emails, and other written communication before sending them. You may also ask someone to review your writing for you. For this will help correct the mistakes and refine your communications. Yes, this is very important. Suppose if you are writing some essay or any other article, you better ask some of your colleagues or your friends to read it, and they should you should select a person who is somewhat more experienced in this. He will give you some good suggestions, what words to use, how to use, when to use, and he will help you in correcting your writing. So never hesitate, but and accept their comments also. And whenever you get a chance of collecting good samples of good writing, always you save them. Like whenever you find an email, pamphlets, or documents that's well written, save it in a file. You can prefer it to it when you need to prepare a similar piece of communication in the future. Visual communication tips. Get feedback on the visuals you plan to include. Sometimes the visuals you plan to add to communication may cause confusion instead of simplifying the concept. So you discuss and you should take opinion also, feedback on this. Keep your audience in mind. Only include visuals that your audience can understand. If required, try explaining the visuals to them as in simple terms as possible. Now coming to the main topic, role of communicative English in healthcare. English fluency is vital for communication in healthcare field. How? See, basically here in India, regional language plays a major role in communicating in healthcare. But there are some patients, there are some people who are more efficient in expressing their problems and their issues in English. So you have to understand that English language may become very important when it comes to communicating with co-workers, your bosses and patients in a hospital or other medical settings. When talking to patients, you will need to offer them companionship. You will bring them more happiness by discussing their day and learning about their interests. Here, I would like to say something interesting at National Institute of Unani Medicine. As you all know that Kannada is the regional language here. So usually what happens, most of the consultants or doctor physicians who are sitting there in the OPD, they are from Hindi speaking states. So what happens when a patient comes to them and speaks in Kannada and he says his problems, it's very difficult to understand. So usually what these people do, they keep a translator, like local attenders from local Karnataka who can speak Kannada. They sit with them in the OPD and translate the patient's complaints to them. Again, they have to translate whatever the patient says to the doctor and from the doctor to the patients. This is something which is happening here in our OPDs. So in this situation, suppose if the patient is educated, he can express everything in English. And if the doctor is sitting there, if he is very good in English, they can converse and communicate in English. So as such, you will need to speak enough English to understand them and communicate effectively. You will need to be able to speak clearly and loudly enough, especially when working with elderly patients. Because elderly patients have hearing problem, so you have to speak clearly and loudly. Don't speak too quickly either to improve understanding between you and your patients. Fast speaking also is something which is not good and does not give a very good message. You have to speak very slowly and in a very good tone to particularly the patients. Being fluent in English could help you save a life or improve a patient's treatment. So being fluent in English, if you live in a country where it is the primary language, could help you save a life in the medical profession. Here, see nowadays what is happening in United Kingdoms, they are offering jobs for all this Ayush people, mainly Ayurveda, Unani, and other faculties. They are offering some jobs, paramedical jobs, and some other jobs. So basically, I have seen few from Kerala. They have gone to United Kingdoms. Now they are working there in some emergency department. So what happens? They are Malayalam speaking people. So before they go to UK, they have to pass some English speaking language exams like TOEFL, IELTS, and all. So this actually helps in improving their English, so they can be fluent. So even in future, if you are planning to go to some other Western countries like UK, US, you'll have to pass compulsorily these exams, TOEFL, IELTS, etc., so that you have to improve your fluency in English. So this is happening. Even see, I will tell you, there's a lot of scope for Ayush people nowadays. Not you are not restricted only to India. You are being recognized throughout the world. If you make yourself a very good Unani doctor with very good well-versed knowledge, definitely you got option over the seas also, job options. You never know when a certain symptom can help you better diagnose someone with an unknown and complicated disease. When a good grasp of English, you will understand when a patient is in pain and what type of pain they may have. You will understand what they may need at any particular moment. That's what I told you. Translator is not required when both the patient and the doctor knows English language. This way, the English language may help you improve a patient's treatment and care for your patients in a better way. So please remember that becoming fluent English could boost your healthcare career by helping you save lives and improve your patient's treatment. Benefits of knowledge of English for healthcare professionals. Good command over the English language occupies a crucial space in the healthcare fields for several reasons. What are these reasons? The healthcare professional who communicates in English is aware of current trends in the health sector, as they can go through the foreign medical journals, latest healthcare and scientific papers that are generally published in English. If planning to study medicine or paramedical in a foreign university, as I told you earlier, knowledge of English or other foreign languages can be a boon. It is important to grow professionally, participate in international research projects, and English is a medium of the most of the events because English is an universal language. Next is knowledge of English is essential to work in a team with foreign specialists. There are a lot of job opportunities in WHO, even for Ayush people. Some people who have worked, who have done their post graduation, like Dr. Tanvir in the community medicine, definitely in W they have got good job opportunities to work with WHO. Many public health programs are organized by WHO where you can work with the WHO people. So better is to have a very good knowledge of English. Many domestic hospitals, clinics cooperate with foreign healthcare institutions, invite foreign experts to work or carry out consultations in difficult cases to make a diagnosis jointly or to determine the methods of treatment of patients. So see here, actually nowadays, have you heard about video conferencing? Doctors from one country, they have a video conferencing with doctors from other places, other countries. So here, the most common language which is used by all this in video conferencing, video presentations, and seminars is English. So you have to have a very good hold in English. Regardless of the occupation, whether you are a doctor, specialist, healthcare, or paramedical staff, you speak one or more foreign languages, you'll be considered as a valuable asset in any healthcare institute that is cooperating with foreign partners. Importance of English in hospitals. Here are few examples of why English language is important in healthcare institute. Some hospitals have interpreters for communication. Just as I told you, we keep some attenders of local Karnataka people to work as interpreters. But with the knowledge of local languages, hospital staff should also know English to reassure patients from a foreign country or other states and handle the situation in a much better way. As I already have told you about this, most admission forms are either in English or regional languages. Before getting admitted to a hospital, patients and families have to fill forms regarding history of illness, allergies, medical issues, and they might struggle to fill the form. Here, a healthcare professional can come and help the family to fill the form. See, fortunately, here in Bangalore, all the forms are in English. It can be filled very easily. But I was very shocked to see in Tamil Nadu, whatever doctor writes, his prescription is in Tamil. The whatever he writes, the complaints, everything, even the letterhead also is in Tamil. So only people who are speaking Tamil can understand this. Because some patients from Tamil Nadu they come with their prescriptions, which we hardly try to understand. So even if they understand, they realize the importance of this English language, they can actually change their method. Drawbacks of not understanding the English language. Most hospitals in the country use a mixture of, as I told you now, two or more languages in their communication with the patients. Hence, healthcare professionals must be proficient in their use of English in the healthcare field. Even the smallest miscommunication could be potentially devastating. With lives at stake, words need to have pinpoint precision. Healthcare staffs needs to be silver-tongued and empathetic individuals to give patients a comprehensive understanding of their health situations. It is observed that quite often healthcare providers blame patients for not adhering to medical prescriptions and treatments when the problem may be that the patients simply don't understand the medical terms. Yes, this is a really a very bad, a very sad situation because most of the handwriting the doctors write is really it's very difficult for the patients also to understand. And because sometimes, as I told you in Tamil Nadu, it's written in Tamil, only Tamil people can understand that. When they bring such prescriptions to Bangalore, it's very difficult because it's not in English. Immigrants may know how to speak English, but vocabulary related to medical field is very specific and lends itself to more miscommunications. Healthcare professionals may have many reasons to learn English. You have to uh, just try to understand this point. I need your attention because this is where you have to realize the importance of English. In the healthcare industry, people lives are at stake, so any misunderstanding is risky. It is therefore crucial to pay attention to the language in fostering a trustful and comprehensible relationship between healthcare staff and both the patients and the family members. The choice of words used is highly important to avoid confusion and to calm and ease the mind of family members. So now you know understand the importance of English so that you understand what patient says better, have a better understanding and patient understands what you says in a better way. Having considered all the above points, we can conclude that English is one of the important languages of healthcare industry. This is a language that connects the professionals, makes it possible to transfer the experience, skills, knowledge, and very important to provide quality care to the patients. So this is my final conclusion that with a very good English knowledge, you'll be able to transfer your experience, your skills and knowledge in a better way and to provide good quality care to the patients. So I think this is a very brief um, presentation which I could make it for you people to better understand this.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for so kind over here. There are a few questions coming for you. The
Okay.
question is that why a doctor should be a good communicator and what edge on being a good communicator by professional, I mean, while they are interacting with the patient, while they are having their clients, what are the edge over being a good communicator?
This just now what this is what I told you people that if you have a very good fluent English knowledge or not only knowledge, suppose you are in your Hindi speaking states, you should be a very good communicator. Like you know what you speak to the patient should be very clear, and what the patient says also should be very clear. So having a very good communication between the patient and the patient and the doctor is very important to understand the minute facts of the complaints what the patient says, and even the way you explain the treatment to the patient, because in Unani, particularly in Unani field, just write a prescription like in allopathy and give it to the patient is not sufficient at all. You will have, because here the modality of treatment will be quite widely, you have to explain it very widely, because what you say and how you prepare, like there are different modalities of treatment. For each and every patient you will have to explain it, how it has to be prepared, how you have to use it, when to use it, how much quantity you have to use it. So all this can be done only when you are proficient, or you are when you are a good communicator. So I feel the importance being a good communicator is a very important, plays a major role in healthcare.
One more thing, madam, apart from consulting the patient and having consultation with the patient, what are the fields where a good communication skill helps a lot a doctor?
See, I'll tell you, not only this patient hospital area, there are many areas where you have to be very good communicator. Like you are having an you are doing some research in collaboration with other universities. There you will have to be very good communicator. You have to speak very confidently. You have to explain your ideas, how you are going to conduct research, what are your aims, and what will be the end result you are expecting. So in the field of research, you have to be a very good communicator, and not only that, in nowadays, you have to be you'll get very good job opportunities. See, I've seen people who work in multinational companies. They prefer people who have got very good English language, because whole day they have to interact with the um, people from different fields. Like in HR department, they have to conduct lots of interviews for their regular appointments and all. So in multinational companies, you have to have very good knowledge, and also in education, not only hospital and patient, as a good teacher, you have to be a very good communicator. Suppose you are working in some field areas where you have labor groups and very poor people. There your English will not work, but being a good communicator in their local language will always help you.
Okay, ma'am. One more question is there. Knowing English is how much difficult, yeah, easy for a student, basically from the student from the North India side.
Okay, now for this, I would like to share my example. Like I am basically my basic education up to seventh standard was in a very good English convent. But it's fortunately or unfortunately, my father he admitted me in a government high school because it was quite near to my residence. So you can understand the situation there. There were hardly two or three convent students, and all other were from the Urdu medium school and Kannada medium school girls. So in that situation, I was like a king there, speaking very good English. I was always elected the class leader and even the union leader because of my English language. I'll tell you, this is something very plus point. And finally, what happened after? But one thing I noticed, speaking with them in Urdu and Kannada made my fluency very weak. And later on, I joined college, UMS, where again we had a very good Urdu area, Urdu speaking people. Gradually, my English became very weak. I started losing my confidence. Then what happened? I joined my job. When I joined my job, I was posted in a hospital. So there again, people spoke only in Kannada in the hospital, and my colleagues, the other colleagues who were there in the hospital, they spoke only Kannada. I hardly got a chance of speaking in English. Then what happened? When I joined Central Pharmacy, I had a very good friend, Ayurveda doctor, Dr. Vijay. He was a very good proficient in English. Like he had very good knowledge. Not only knowledge, the way he spoke impressed me a lot. So I started discussing with him, and I told him, "Please help me improve my English language." See, this happened because I had stopped practicing my English speaking now. But he told, "Madam, you have got very good knowledge, but you lack um, practice. That's the way you have lost your fluency." So here Unani people, I know that most of the students they have very good knowledge, but just because they start conversing only in local language, so their fluency is lost. So my request to all the students is, you please start speaking to your friends in English. You may be wrong in the beginning. You may lose some confidence, but don't give it up. You have to speak and to your friends, see, you may make mistakes. You may, even your friends may laugh at you, but don't go back. Tomorrow, with your continuous speaking practice, definitely your fluency will come back. See, this is how what he told me is, Madam, from tomorrow you are going to speak with me only in English, no Kannada. So from that on, we both started conversing in English, and this continued for a few months. And finally, I got back my confidence in speaking English. And not only that, I started reading many English books, newspapers. This also, whatever magazines you get, you start reading that. You will try to understand very good importance of the some very good vocabulary. Keep a dictionary always in your hand. Suppose you find some problem speaking, you have to see for an appropriate word. Nowadays, even in your laptop or your computers, you have got a column. When you click on the right side of selected word, you get synonyms. You can take the help from there, and you can use appropriate words. So what I say is, if you have to improve your English knowledge, you have to start practicing from now itself. Start speaking in English, start reading some English magazines, journals. That will definitely help you. So Dr. Tanvir had also requested me for some to give a brief introduction of myself.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, Shanti. So first of all, I would like to say that I'll be retiring from my services, inshallah, next April. So hardly 1 year is there, and I have given about 1986. That is about 36 years of service which seemed to be 36 years of service. Initially, I completed my BUMS in the year 1984, and I joined for an integrated course in allopathy. Initially, there was a specialized integrated course for Ayush people here in Karnataka, which was conducted by Bangalore Medical College, and it was called as emergency diploma in emergency also. And but we got a degree of BAMS. So with that, I was doing that course. I was about to finish it off. It is 1.5 year course. I got a good opportunity. I got a job, KPSC Karnataka Public Service Commission job, and I was appointed as a medical officer. But my posting was at Government Central Pharmacy. See, when I joined, I had a dream that I'll become a doctor. I'll start wearing apron, use stethoscope, see the patients. But it was total opposite. And when I joined pharmacy, it was something totally different nature of work, where we had to supervise preparation of drugs, supervise storing, packaging, distribution of drugs to all the hospitals in Karnataka. So I was quite upset with that. Finally, I got transferred to Mysore. I worked in Mysore for 5 years till 1994. I was in Mysore. Then I came back to Bangalore again. And again, I joined Central Pharmacy. So at this moment in 1995 or 96, when I joined pharmacy, I had a very good opportunity to meet this Dr. Vijay, who helped me in giving. He actually, though he's 10 years junior to me, he taught me how to give presentations. We both used to conduct workshops at home. So he said, Madam, when you can ask your Unani students to join and you start giving them lectures on basics of Unani, because this is the main field where you have to understand the basics concepts of Unani, its modalities of treatment and all. So I started giving workshop to the students. This is how slowly I started developing my extracurricular activities, like attending workshops, giving seminars, presentations and all. Then finally, I joined Unani Medical College in the year 2000 after giving 14 years of my services as medical officer. When I joined Unani, it was totally my interest, because one Ayurvedic principal, he was the director of Central Pharmacy. He advised me, Madam, why don't you join college? You have got such a good language, you have got such a good knowledge. Yeah, you are fit to become a teacher. He actually encouraged me to join Unani College. When I joined there, I got an opportunity to work there till 2004. In 2004, I got my admission in post-graduation MD in National Institute of Unani Medicine. I was from the first batch. There, when I joined, it was the basic, it is initial stage. The institute was still under very developing state. So when I joined and the patients started coming, my 14 years of experience as medical officer helped me a lot to start treat the patient. Because when I was working as a medical officer, and Dr. Vijay, who was with me, he's an expert in Panchakarma. We had a combined practice where we would use Unani treatment or medicines and apply his Panchakarma modalities. And it was a joint combination of treating with both Ayurveda and Unani medicines. And we had a very good experience. And I learned a lot from him in this area, Panchakarma. So that helped me to establish Ilaj with Tadbir department at National Institute, because preliminary I didn't realize that there is such an importance here. When I started seeing some neurological disorders patients, I realized massage and some other treatment, Munzin Musil therapies would definitely help these patients. So we started discussing with the consultants who were there, my teachers, and they gave importance to what because we were quite senior. My teachers were quite junior and young to me when compared to us, because when I joined for my MD, I was in my 40s. So what happened? They started, Madam, आपको जो भी अच्छा लगे आप करिए, हम लोग आपके support में रहेंगे. We will help you, they said. So initially I started doing massage for the patients. Basically, learning the massage is also a big art. You cannot just take oil and start massaging abruptly. So this basic knowledge I started giving training to two of the attenders at hospital who helped me while giving massage to the patients. Not only massage, I started gradually using the different Ilaj with Tadbir processes. Finally, it so happened the director recognized the director of National Institute. He understood the importance of Ilaj with Tadbir, and he started a different separate department where I was made the in charge for Ilaj with Tadbir. So gradually, this is how it established. Initially, I have given a lot of efforts in making this department established, like massaging 15 to 20 patients continuously in a day was quite hectic for me. I would get tired and exhausted in the evening. I would not be able to concentrate during my classes also. Somehow my efforts gave a very good impact. Alhamdulillah, now in National Institute is recognized by its Ilaj with Tadbir department. So finally, what happened after completion of my PG, this department of Ilmul Saidala was established at National Institute of Unani Medicine. As I had 14 years of experience in governments working in central pharmacy, I was preferred to get a chance there to work as a, I was appointed as a reader or associate professor in the department of Ilmul Saidala. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, it's almost uh, 10 years, and earlier 2 years I had worked as on deputation. Totally for 12 years I have been working at National Institute. When I joined the department, it was right from the beginning of cleaning. It was just on the papers. Two other teachers were there, and they are waiting for me to join. And only then, when I joined, we started establishing the department. Right from cleaning the labs, there were a lot of bricks, muds. After its construction, it was just left like that. Cleaning, washing, and then establishing the department of Ilmul Saidla was our main aim. So Alhamdulillah, now our department of Saidala has got more than 40 instruments. We have got different departments, like we have got compound formulation lab where we demonstrate for students different method of preparation. Almost all dosage forms which are there in this Unani Pharmacopoeia, we try that the student should learn that. Not only that, soap making, shampoos, toothpaste, creams, gels, hair oils, hair dyes. All these are some of the projects which we have worked here in our department. And Alhamdulillah, our department has got about more than 30 to 40 well-established instruments which are used in research. We have got a very good standardization unit. And now we have started a cosmetology unit also, where we show the students how to make creams, gels, shampoos, soaps, and all. So this is how, Alhamdulillah, our department is very established right now. And I really thank God for giving me an opportunity to serve in that prestigious institute, and my experience being utilized there. This is how I have worked and apart from that, my other contributions are: I am Board of Studies member for Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences. Earlier, I was Board of Studies member for Kerala University of Health Sciences, and I am also member for Unani Pharmacopoeia Committee of India. And then I had the opportunity. I was an invited speaker for Ayush conference held at Dubai. They had invited me as a speaker and had given a deliberation there. And Alhamdulillah, I've got about 50 publications, more than 50 publications published in index journals. And I've got 2 books and few chapters which are print. In one book, there's an international publication, a chapter on dietotherapy in Unani medicine. It was published by Taylor and Francis, very well established international publication. And I've got a few chapters in National Law School of India, is another university. They had actually started a course called as Medical Ethics for law students. So there I was invited as a trainer or a teacher to speak on Unani. So these are some of my contributions. Actively during my college, when I was working in government center for government Unani Medical College, I had got lot of opportunities. I had organized many medical camps. I used to visit all girls colleges and promote them to join Unani. QC students, I would go and talk to them and encourage them to join Unani course. And then I have given lot of radio programs and a few TV programs also. And this is some of my contributions towards my system, that is Unani system. Alhamdulillah, please pray for me that God may give me more strength and energy to work and contribute more to this system. Thank you, Dr. Tanvir.
Thank you, madam. Dear student, I think you have find that ma'am is so precious for the system. She was well versed with the topic, not even with the topic. She went through his journey in the United System of Medicine. I found it quite inspirational. I think same situation is there for you guys also. मैम ना के सिर्फ टीचिंग और उसके साथ साथ रिसर्च, बल्कि बच्चियों को खास के सिस्टम से जोड़ना और एक कम्युनिटी में उनकी एक अच्छी जगह बने, उसके लिए बहुत कोशिश है और बहुत सारे एफर्ट्स इनके हैं जो आप बीइंग स्टूडेंट अगर आपको मौका मिला नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट में, मैं तो ये उम्मीद करता हूँ और दुआ करता हूँ कि आप देर तक सेहतमंद रहे, हमारे साथ लीड करती रहे मैडम. और
Shall we tell you, Tanvi, Dr. Tanvi, sorry for interrupting. At present, two
Yes.
of my family members are COVID positive. My husband is in hospital. My mother-in-law recently discharged. So with all these commitments, I was able to only make a very little contribution to this topic. Please
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मैम. ये काफी वो रहा और हम लोग की तरफ से दुआ है कि वो लोग जल्दी सेहतयाब हो जाएं. बगैर किसी ताखीर के कॉलेज के वाइस प्रिंसिपल साहब जुड़े हुए हैं इस प्रोग्राम में. प्रोफेसर तबरेज अख्तर लारी साहब जो सीसीआई मेंबर भी रहे हैं, 15 साल से आपने स्टेट प्रोग्राम ऑफिसर के तौर पे गवर्नमेंट मेन सेक्टर में भी सर्व किया है. अभी आप कॉलेज में फिर से वाइस प्रिंसिपल के पोस्ट पे फाइज हुए हैं. मैं उनसे दरखास्त करूंगा, तबरेज अख्तर लारी साहब अगर सुन पा रहे हैं सर, तो मैं उनसे दरखास्त करूंगा. अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर. लारी सर जुड़े हुए हैं. अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर. Okay, there is some problem in communicating with the vice principal of this institution. मैम
सर म्यूट किए हुए हैं.
हाँ सर म्यूट कर, लगता है सर किसी वजह से नहीं जुड़ पा रहे हैं. मैम इस बहुत ही अच्छे डेलिब्रेशन के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. मुझे ये पता नहीं था कि फैमिली में इतनी सारी मिसहैप भी, उसके बाद भी यस वाइस प्रिंसिपल साहब जुड़ गए हैं. मैं सर से दरखास्त करूंगा कि प्रोफेसर रूही जमा साहब वोट ऑफ थैंक्स सर की तरफ से पेश किया.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू. मैम बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपके घर में आप बीमार हैं लोग, उसके बाद भी आपने हमारे बच्चों के लिए टाइम निकाला. अल्लाह से दुआ करेंगे हम सब मिल के कि जल्दी से जल्दी आपके घर में शफा अल्लाह ताला अता करवाए और लोगों की हिफाजत फरमाए. मैम ने अपने बारे में काफ़ी डिटेल से बताया और बच्चे आप देख सकते हैं कि काफ़ी डायनेमिक मैम है और किसी फील्ड में भी इनको लगा दिया गया, इन्होंने काम किया. तो बच्चे ऐसा नहीं है कि आदमी को जो है सक्सेस का कोई रास्ते नहीं है. अपने हिसाब से अगर आप सिर्फ मैम ने अभी कम्युनिकेशन लैंग्वेज पे बात किया, अगर कम्युनिकेशन भी आपका अच्छा है तो थोड़ी सी आपकी जो है सब्जेक्ट पे ग्रिप है तो आप किसी फील्ड में अपने को एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं. मैम जैसे लोग, बहुत से लोग आपको मिल जाएंगे जो कि आपको इंस्पायर करें. आप इनसे अटैच रहें और इनके कामों को आप देखें तो आपको कॉन्फिडेंस होगा. मैम जैसा कि आपका वक्त ज़्यादा नहीं लेंगे, आपको पता होना चाहिए कि ये CCIM का नया ट्रांजिशनल करिकुलम न्यू बच्चों के लिए शुरू किया गया है ताकि बच्चे जो है इस सब्जेक्ट से अटैच रहें. इसके अलावा हम लोगों ने, हमारे यहाँ अभी नया PG शुरू हुआ था तो हम लोगों ने PG स्टूडेंट को भी इसी के साथ जोड़ लिया है ताकि उनका इंट्रैक्शन हो जाए और वो भी सब्जेक्ट को ठीक से समझ सकें कि हाउ दे हैव टू बी गो टू द रिसर्च जो है. तो मैम ने जिस तरह से इस सब्जेक्ट को टच किया है, आई होप कि बच्चों को काफ़ी मदद मिली होगी. इन्हीं बातों के साथ मैम मैं आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहेंगे और इस रिक्वेस्ट के साथ इस रिक्वेस्ट के साथ कि फ्यूचर में भी आप बने रहेंगे मेरे साथ। हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे कि हर क्वार्टरली लेवल पे आप जैसे लोगों को बुला करके अपने पीजी के बच्चों को भी मोटिवेट कर सकेंगे।
Inshallah, I'm always there. I'm definitely, I'll try my best to be of more help to your students also in future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again, man.